Once, with 2 relevant years of experience, I had a training session organized with senior attendees having on average 20 years of experience, and there were 10 of them. That means 200 years of experience gathering in front of me. Some were expecting me to deliver something valuable, but some were also doubting that I could actually interest them. You could literally read on their faces. Let's see if this guy has something to teach us on. Very often in a training you will get attendees having much more experience than you have, and that's absolutely normal. To be a trainer, one doesn't need to have the most experience, one simply needs to be able to pass on a message in order to help the delegates improve their skills, knowledge or abilities. Not having the most experience is normal, but it can be somehow intimidating for new trainers. That's why in this video we'll learn 3 strategies to impress your audience and reinforce your confidence. However, keep in mind that's for your own comfort in front of the audience. Legitimacy is something you first build up in your mind before you get it in the training. It's all about your confidence and feelings. Theoretically, if you have something valuable to train your delegates on and you apply the right methods to teach it, you're already good. If your delegates identify that there is something in it for them and that they can get it through you, they will be interested and they will pay attention during your training. As a trainer, you might not feel confident when facing delegates with much more experience than you have. I dealt with more experienced delegates during at least 50 training sessions, and during the first ones I have to say I really struggled with self-imposed legitimacy issues. To help you, we'll first see how to relate to the experience of the delegates so that they consider you as one of them. Then, in a second time, we'll learn tricks to appear knowledgeable in front of the audience. The goal here is to get the typical comment, "This one really knows what he's talking about." And third, we'll talk about ways to open the perspective of the students and demonstrate you know more than they do. Let's go! Alright. First, you have to relate to the experience of your audience. The first step to achieve this is to dress and be equipped like a professional. Maybe dress shirt and dark pants for presentations, while for hands-on parts you will need personal protective equipment or specific work outfit. Even if not needed, show that whenever you're about to work, you dress up for that. Just don't dress up too formal if that makes you feel uncomfortable. You usually don't need to wear a suit every time. Then be equipped properly. It's not acceptable to dismantle or reassemble a product without the right tools or equipment. We really have to show the best practices. Your tools also have to be clean, sorted out correctly, and arranged in a professional way. A table where all the tools are lying in a chaotic way is not an option. If you are training on softwares, your files and desktop also have to be well organized. Second, never discredit, but instead acknowledge issues with the products you're training on. In a training event, very often you will have one delegate complaining about the quality of a product or stating that some solutions of your company don't work as expected. The worst in this case would be to pretend that these problems don't exist. The second worst would be to discredit the brand and say, yeah, this product is a bad one. Instead, extinguish the fire. Tell the delegate raising this concern that you are well aware of that topic, that the responsible departments are on it, and you know a solution will quickly come up. Third, refer about typical procedures, and when performing exercises and discussions, put the delegates in a context they experience often. It's quite difficult for delegates to stay on board if we confront them to a situation they almost never experience. They also might think that you don't know the situation in the field if you ask them about fancy cases that don't reflect the reality. You have to know what happens in the field and show that you know. In the same range of ideas, you have to know the approximate timings to accomplish the usual task for the delegates, and that's something you could also play with. If you know a task takes 20 minutes on average to an average person, don't hesitate to use it to show that you know your field, to praise the delegates and also to launch a discussion. It would sound like this. Changing this part usually takes 20 minutes to a good technician. What's the time it usually takes you? The second strategy that you could implement to reinforce your legitimacy is to appear knowledgeable. The first way to appear knowledgeable is to give very accurate data. Memorize numbers, memorize product features that you could then tell to your audience. For example, you could say, this card reader is IP67. It works from 0 to plus 50 degrees Celsius, but there is an optional heater inside to make it work until minus 40 degrees Celsius in Siberia. There is these temperature limitations because the card reader is equipped with a LCD display, and the crystals tend to solidify below 0 degrees. The mean time before failure for this device is 64,000 hours, blah blah blah. And once you have given a few figures, you will see that delegates will be impressed by the accuracy of the information you are able to retain. Now, in order to build your legitimacy even more, you will need to master perfectly the first practical demos that you perform. Therefore, you have to repeat these and show you know exactly how to perform each task. My first training manager used to tell me a story about one trainer that really impressed him. During a demonstration, he was able to put his arm around an engine to indicate, without locking, the exact location of a setting nut while explaining that this is the nut they have to tighten in very specific cases. Another similar trick: either prepare your tools in advance to look like a methodic professional, or when about to start with a hands-on part, just tell the delegates the precise list of tools and ask them to look for the equipment in the room. It would sound like this. Right, for this part we will need Loctite, a 1/4 and 1/2 inch spanner, a Torx T9 and a Phillips screwdriver number 2. Could you please gather these? That also contributes to an important lecture. Don't start the job if you have missing equipment. And if they helped you get the tools, they can also put everything back at the right place afterwards. Finally, memorize and draw on the whiteboard or flip chart detailed menu structures or advanced charts or drawings. Instead of using a PowerPoint presentation this time, switch your beamer off and restitute a lot of information directly onto the board, while keeping your delegates engaged, for instance, by asking them some information and correcting them. It's always really impressive to see trainers going off track without prepared visual aids and drawing from memory a complex chart or a dense menu structure, and it disconnects you and your delegates from the PowerPoint environment routine. Another thing you could memorize are lists of alarm codes or lists of settings or parameters. It's quite impressive when a trainer from memory gives back with precision some numbers from a list or data the delegates use quite often but have not memorized. The third strategy we can implement consists in opening the delegate's perspective. To do that, you can first note down the interesting anecdotes you hear and the field issues you encountered. The best is, of course, unusual stories that they don't know and which sounds quite mysterious to them, from different countries or with rare situations that they have not seen often. It's always impressive when a trainer says, "In the Netherlands they encounter this situation quite often." Or, "Yeah, I've seen this once in Australia in 2014. Even better than that, if you don't have a lot of experience, you can enrich your current lessons using your previous ones. So already now, begin to note down and reuse field tricks and anecdotes some delegates gave you in a previous course to impress your current delegates. The contrary is also true. You can talk about the bad practices you've encountered in different countries or different companies. That's relatively easy, as the legislation and practices are very often country dependent. Therefore, some normal practices in a country can seem very strange in a different one. For example, once during a training outside Europe, on a 12-volt circuit, I saw technicians connect cables together by simply twisting these and put tape all around instead of properly crimping the cables together. No need to say that would be a nonsense in other parts of the world. Another trick: be equipped with very good tools that look used in order to show you have actually worked extensively with these. Even better, be equipped with professional tools that they don't have or don't use in the field. Another example: this is the trick I was using personally when teaching electric fault finding on low voltage circuits. It just consists in always wearing a grounded anti-static wristband before handling PC boards. The delegates often get curious when seeing such tools for the first time, and they ask you some questions about it. Then you can explain in detail the theory about static electricity and grounding, for example. Alright, that was all for our 3 strategies. There is surely others you know, and in such a case, drop a comment below and I will be happy to add it to the list. With experience, you will develop your own tricks, and maybe you will even not feel the need to demonstrate your legitimacy anymore. At that point, you will deliver your content without caring about impressing your audience, but just caring about what they actually learn. That's all what I wish for you, so keep progressing, hit the like button, and have a great future session.